Good afternoon, people. Don't see me in my gown and bonnet. It is not morning, it is afternoon. And the girl needed some extra sleep because last night the girl was goisharing. Like, yesterday was Thursday, né? And it felt like a fairly good day. This week has felt like a fairly good week. Especially Wednesday, I got some content out. I went to church for the evening, Wednesday night services. I had lunch with my dad, spoke about business, spoke about life, things that I hadn't told him about, and that was really nice to get his perspective. Sometimes I'm like I know, like with my mom, I can tell her like tea that's happening in my life because she's a woman. But with my dad, sometimes I'm like, I don't know if like, is he gonna be interested in that? But like, he asked me some really nice questions, and I was like, wow, okay, so this is like, this is not like woman problems, shrug it off type of vibe. Which is not like he's ever really done that to me, but it's just, I guess, my own perception, which is another thing that I learned this week. Before I get into the fact that the girl was / currently is goisharing. Monday, I had a conversation with my mom about my book, and my book is about identity, right? Everything I speak about is about identity. And I had to have a conversation with her because she played a huge role in the shaping of my identity, as mothers generally do, right? According to the research that I have done, right? And some of the things that have happened, I love my mom and she loves me to death, but obviously not. There isn't a single relationship that is perfect, and I feel like in our generation we are all like uprooting some of the things that we learned through our parents. And most of our parents are a product of a system that shaped the way that they think, right? So our system, our culture is shaping us to think inwardly. It's shaping us not just to survive but to thrive, and that also has its downfalls because there's a lot of pressure to do over and above. Like if somebody their dream job is to be a police officer. Like, we live in a society where that's like, really, my guy, you couldn't aim higher. Like, that's the society that we live in, and it's sad. But they lived in a society that made it very difficult for them just to survive, and surviving was thriving, and it affected them greatly, so as I'm sure many of us know, right? So it was just like having that conversation and being like, I'm gonna talk about things that were not so great about our relationship, and yeah. And for the longest time, I didn't think she'd be okay with that. Obviously she has her own concerns, but for the most part, my mom, just as she has always been, I mean, she's been the most supportive person in my career. Like, she's hands-on. I mean, we receive support from people differently. Some people support financially, some people support by giving advice, some people support by giving you advice, guidance, some people support by showing up to your shows and bringing flowers, some people support by my mom supported by being hands-on. My mom supported by, if clothes need to be ironed for a show, she irons. If shoes needed to be taped for a show, she was taping it, those kinds of things. And she loves wearing my designs. My mom is very hands-on. And because of some of the fractures in our relationship, it made it difficult for me to see things the way that they truly are, right? To see our relationship the way that it truly is. And so that's what I learned. I learned that, in her concerns, there was never a part of her that was like, no, I don't want you to do this. It was just, okay, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Just as she always is. And yeah, it just made me realize that I actually have a really good relationship with my mom, and that relationships do evolve. And just because a season of a relationship was fractured, was damaged, was hurtful, it doesn't mean that the entire relationship is that way. For a very small part of my life, my relationship with my mom wasn't great, but for the most part of my life, my entire 20s, my relationship has with my mom has been great. Half of my teenagers, my relationship with my mom has been great. And even in the moments, like when I was a little girl, I speak about it in my book, when I was in my early teens, even in those parts, there was still her showing up for me, just maybe not always in the ways that I wanted, right? So there was still love regardless. And that's something that I've had to come to terms with this week. So just having the conversation with my mom about my book, and having lunch with my dad and telling him about my girl problems, and him like asking me like how I feel, like, like, guys, my parents. I love them. Demon knows. Anyway, I'm not here to talk about them. I just wanted to share my week, and that was one of the things. So I think maybe a takeaway from that is really evaluate your relationships, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of that, to be in a relationship with somebody who only remembers the bad parts of you, and hasn't taken the time to understand and learn the fact that you have changed and you have grown and you have evolved, and actually taken the time to accept that part of you, accept that version of you, and that they hold on so tight to an older version of you that it changes your relationship, that they say things that are like, but why would you say that? Like, that's not who I am, or that they haven't forgiven you for things that have happened in the past, right? And it's very hurtful when that's the case. It's very, very hurtful when that's the case. It's very hurtful when you're in a relationship where you have grown and you're not the same person, you don't like the same things anymore, but the people around you don't understand, that they try and pressure you into the things that you didn't want before, or they don't take a step back to be like, oh, am I pressuring this person, because, I mean, for me as well, it's not like I'm gonna like, I don't want to do that, I'm just gonna be like, yeah, I'm not so keen to do that. And if you don't hear me, and if you like, oh, come on, for me, it's just like, did you hear what I just said? So I kind of have gained perspective that really take people as they are right then and there, and try and appreciate them in that moment, and really evaluate your own thinking as to why you think of people in a way that may not necessarily be who they are at that moment. Being present is everything, and it's something that I am learning. It's one of the things that I prayed for at the beginning of the year, and you never think that it's going to come the way it does, but I think that part of the answer to my prayer of God help me be present is understanding that, oh, this is who your parents are today. It may not be who they were 10 years ago, and even then they may not have known that's who they were. So yeah, so that's perspective there. Now the Goisha ring. The Goisha ring, guys. I think I've spoken repeatedly the frustration that I have felt with myself with regards to my day-to-day, and just feeling like I have these goals that I want to achieve, but half the time I don't know which direction to step in, or half the time, or I feel like, I don't know, I feel unsure, or I feel intimidated by the step. Actually, that's for the most part. It's not even not knowing how to step, but it's like, should I step this way? It's like I can see like if there's like bricks, right? If there's like what do they call it? Not pathways, but like like stepping stones. I think that's what they're called. If they're stepping stones, right? I can see that there's a stone over there, and I can see it's in the left, right? I must step left, right? But it's like, is that stone sturdy? Is that the one I'm supposed to step on? It's the only one that I see, but is that the one I'm supposed to step on? So a whole lot of, I have been struggling with a whole lot of self-doubt. I've been struggling with a whole lot of feeling inadequate. I've been struggling with a whole lot of, a whole lot of not knowing, and a whole lot of being disappointed by not things are happening the way I thought, or as quickly as I thought they would, right? So just reiterating that's really just been a huge part of my struggle this year. And right now, what I'm just like is what I'm feeling right now is just like, God, give me the passion, give me that drive. I spoke about passion in the previous videos, but in one of the previous videos, but give me that drive, like, you know, I was just thinking to myself last night, I miss the old me. It's one of those things that I never thought I would say, because honestly, I don't miss the old me, but I do miss the old me. I don't miss the old me that was so hell-bent on people pleasing, the old me that would do anything for anybody just for the sake of pleasing them, just for the sake of, I don't want to be a bad person, I'm gonna say yes because I don't want to be a bad person. You know, there's that, and there's also parts of me that was so desperate for connection, and so desperate for having people in my life, and so desperate for not feeling lonely, that, you know, I accepted things that really were not, like, I would not accept right now, like, you know. And I think what got me into the feeling of just feeling off, I don't have a word for it just as yet, but before I got to the point where I was like, okay, God, revive my passion, revive desire in me, I came home yesterday evening after having a quick connect group session, and I just realized that I really hadn't been vulnerable in a really long time with people, and these are new people, and these are people who I don't know very well. I don't know if they're trustworthy, you know. There is one particular person who is somewhat new in my life. We only started becoming friends this year, but I know just by her character, just by seeing the kinds of, she does ministry, not conventional ministry like a church, but like she has an online platform where she helps people being transparent, right, and vulnerable, and it makes it easier when you know what you're dealing with. But when you don't know what you're dealing with, when you don't know who people really are, what they're gonna do with the information listening to you, this other person will tell you off the bat that this is a safe space and that what happens here stays here, right? But now in a connect group where you're meeting people for the first time, there's an assumption that it's a safe space. You know, the church does say, guys, your connect groups should be a safe space. You don't really know that that's what's happening, you know, and I've become very protective over myself because of some of the things that I've experienced in the past. Let's just say in the past, but also just like I said, you know, I lost a lot of significant relationships in my life in a very short space of time, like just in 2022. Like, one, I see you almost every day friendship, you know, detaching from that at the beginning of the year, like around March 2022, and then the further we progressed in the year, the more I clung on to the friends I did have, and then those just, like, by the time December rolled around, it was just like, we're not friends anymore. And that has really been a huge damper in my life this year, and it feels redundant. It feels like I keep mentioning this, but you know, it's not easy to get over these things. It's not, it's not when you build your life around people, when you think to yourself, oh, this is going to be my bridesmaid, when half of your dreams are planned in consideration to this person is going to be in my life. Oh, this is the business that I want to have. Oh, this person will do the interior decor for this business that I'm going to have. All those kinds of things, billionaire besties. I started watching videos as well that were on my Google Drive because I was running out of space on my Google Drive, and now I'm being reminded of all these things, And yeah, it's just, sure, guys, it's a lot. It's a lot. So when I came back from that Connect group, realizing that, I'm starting from scratch with friendships. I'm starting from scratch in in unknown territory with unknown people, and I'm trying my best to not just be there and like, I'm fine. My week was good. I could easily do that, but I'm trying to actively push myself to be like, okay, be honest. How was your week? How are you feeling? How are you doing? And it's somewhat easy to do this in front of a camera, to do it in front of people who you can see their reaction when you say something. There are certain things that I will share with them that I won't share on my YouTube channel. Just it's different. It's different. It's different when you know who's receiving what you're saying. When you are building a relationship, because the thing about virtual relationships is that there's a cap to the intimacy, but with physical relationships, the intimacy is like, it's easier to be hurt by someone you see than it is to be hurt by someone who writes a bad comment about you. You know what I mean? Also, it just feels like the name of the game. But when you experience those things in real life, it's quite scary. And those are one of the things that I was just realizing, that whoa, I'm entering some really risky territory right now, and I don't know what to do. I don't know how to feel. And I was like, God, this is really hard. This is really, really hard. And that's where it started. That's where I felt vulnerability, fatigue, which I feel quite a lot. I felt it a lot when I was writing my book. I felt it for the longest time in therapy. Every time I came home from therapy, I'd want to take a nap. I wouldn't want to do any work. I don't feel that way anymore because maybe it's because, I've been in therapy for over 2 years now, and my relationship with my therapist, I'm beginning to understand it better. So maybe it's because of that. But there's a huge weight of let's say tiredness that I feel oftentimes after being vulnerable, even sometimes after posting a video. Like, it's just like, what do I do now? Like, I get really, really tired. So just feeling that, and I guess maybe eventually I got to a place where I was like, sure, like, so much is new right now that I miss not having certain struggles. I think maybe that's what it is. What I was trying to say about the passion as well is that, just feeling so tired kind of felt like it robbed me of the desire to do anything else. It felt like it discouraged me to do anything else. And perhaps maybe it's not even that I lost passion, but that I was just tired. I'm just realizing that right now. Yeah, I really was tired, hence I slept for 12 hours, So maybe that's what it is. Maybe I was just tired. Maybe there isn't necessarily a lack of passion, because that's what I keep thinking to myself, is like, why don't I desire to do anything anymore? And maybe it's just tiredness, and how you combat tiredness, or not combat, but how you deal with tiredness is just by resting. So I guess this video had nothing to do with passion. I guess it's just about resting. resting and taking it easy with yourself. I hate that word, I hate that phrase, because I feel, you know, the whole motivation thing. You guys know, you guys have seen the videos, you guys have seen the people who, like, you can't get tired. You have to keep going. You have to keep pushing. Da, 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 da. The motivation stuff, man. I need God to renew my mind and to get that stuff out of my head, because it makes me feel really pressured to just like not waste a single day of my life. And you know, it's like God dedicates a whole day to resting, a whole day. You know, then I don't know, you know, it's just like it almost seems countercultural, but that's God, and that's our standard, you know. The culture standard is that you keep going until you reach the top, and then you'll take vacations. But even then, you can't vacation too long, and it's like, guys, though, like, at what point do we become human beings? At what point can we just live? At what point do we just, you know, at what point do we just live, guys? You know? Yeah, so rest. I suppose that's the lesson. Rest, and hopefully in the rest, the desire to keep going, the desire to keep pushing, the desire to really become a new me, because that old me that was all about the motivation and wouldn't sleep and would really grind. Maybe right now I feel like I miss her, but maybe there's a new and better and more evolved me that's worth embracing, you know, that's worth saying, okay, this new evolved me actually needs 2 days of rest a week. And maybe just accepting that and loving that part of me. And maybe there will be a time where, you know, I am doing more in a day than just one video, cleaning the house, going to the gym, and then that's it for the day. Maybe, you know, the new evolved me will be able to do evolved, right? Because this could be evolved as well, you know, being in my gown at 5 p.m. Who's to say that's not evolving? Because the previous me, you know, would never ever do that, you know. And I mean, like, pre-pandemic version of me. That's the version of me that I was feeling like I was missing. Because that version of me, like, could not sit still. That version of me needed to be up and about, you know. That version of me was frustrated when I would get tired, which I guess maybe that's what happened to me last night as well, is that I was frustrated with the fact that I was tired. I knew exactly why I was tired. I knew exactly that I was being stretched, and that it was, you know, it was tiring to be like, it was quite overwhelming emotionally to be in such foreign territory and to do something that scares me the most, being vulnerable, you know. Even while I was there, just constantly telling myself, as different people were sharing, constantly telling myself, just be honest, just be you. You don't have to share what you feel will be appropriate, that's similar to what this person shares. Oh, that's okay, so we can't share this, we need to share that because that person shared that, you know. Trying to talk myself out of doing that, like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Like, being intentional is a lot, you know. And anyone else might think it's not necessary to do that, but I think it's necessary for me to talk myself out of the way that I've always been, you know. Certain things come natural to you, and when you don't want to be that way anymore, it's gonna feel like work to get out of that. And maybe perhaps one day it will be a natural flow where I'm just like, oh yeah, this is what happened, guys. And it's like, I'm not even bothered by the fact that, like, what I'm saying is unique to what everybody else is saying, and that I don't feel like I fit in. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. I'm gonna let myself rest, and maybe passion and drive will look different for me in this new season of my life, in another season of my life. And one thing that I made a decision to do last night slash this morning is also just, oh, not this morning, this afternoon when I woke up, is just to commit to the process, to be like, okay, I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going, even when I'm not sure whether I'm heading in the right direction, even when I'm not sure that being vulnerable is a good idea. But something tells me that it is a good idea, and I'm gonna trust that something. I'm gonna trust that something, because I think that something is pretty great. I think that something has great plans for me. So have a good one, beloveds. Be encouraged. You're not alone. It's not easy to get out of your comfort zone. It does take a toll on you, and you have every right to be tired. You have every right to rest. You have every right to feel whatever it is that you feel when you are transitioning, when you are learning new things, when you are trying to be a different version of you, when you are trying to learn not to just try and fit in. Because sometimes that trying to fit in, as exhausting as it is, sometimes it's just so natural to you that it really doesn't drain you of much. But sometimes trying not to fit in, but just to be you, can be even more exhausting and feel even less natural, I think that's a real thing, and I think that there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with saying, God, it's really hard, and it's really tiring. But I'm trusting that God will renew my strength. If you're going through something similar, I'm trusting that He will renew your strength. I pray that you go to Him and you tell Him how you feel, and that you rest, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe for you it doesn't mean waking up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Maybe for you it means waking up at 6 o'clock and going to take a jog, and then you feel refreshed after that jog, right? So whatever rest looks like for you, and I think for the most part, rest is just like a heart posture that says that, okay, you've got me. I think for the most part, no matter what you do, like when I get out of these pajamas, I'm going to go to the shop and I'm going to make myself a really nice sandwich that I haven't had in a while. And I am going to do my nails. I'm gonna remove my nail polish, put on a new coat. I'm going to wash my hair. I'm going to, what else was I planning on doing? I'm gonna watch a movie, and that's gonna be my rest for me, because I'm like, at the end of the day, God is carrying me. At the end of the day, He is refreshing me. At the end of the day, I don't need to pressure myself to get in front of my laptop and to finish these things that I feel so frustrated with myself that I'm not finishing. That at the end of the day, whatever's going to happen will happen when it happens. So yeah, that's me. That's me. This is my mom's gown, by the way. It's so warm. My apartment is cold. I know that it's summer/spring, but my apartment feels not like outside. Like, have you ever walked in front of those fan heaters? Like, that's what it feels like when I walk outside onto my balcony. Like I feel like a rush of warm wind, whereas in here it's like just like no wind, just like cool. It's just cool/cold. But I'm not complaining. Sometimes it's nice to be out on the road, come back home, and I'm like, I can breathe. The air outside is so thick. Sometimes, but most times, me, I like to be hot, guys. I'm a summer baby like that. But y'all, I love you guys, and thank you for listening to my TED Talk.